Hello, I'm Ross Farrar from the band Cermony, Spice, Crisis Man, and as of recent, RJF, a solo project. And today I'll be reading Do We Have Free Will? Maybe It Doesn't Matter by Jim Davies of Nautilus Magazine. We'll be talking about how belief is a special kind of human power. The anthropologist Augustine Fuentes eloquently claims as much in his book, Why We Believe. It's the most prominent, promising, and dangerous capacity humanity has evolved. He writes, the power to see and feel and know something, an idea, a vision, a necessity, a possibility, a truth that is not immediately present to the senses, and then to invest wholly and authentically in that something so that it becomes one's reality. A great example of this is in the widespread and intuitive idea that we have free will. Most people grow up with the notion that they are, in some sense, responsible for their thoughts and actions because, unlike animals, humans can think about their choices. We can reflect on what we should do, and other people, be they our parents or Supreme Court justices, can rightly hold us accountable. This is what most people mean when they talk about having free will. A Christian might say it goes back to Adam and Eve, who abused their God-given free will in defiantly eating of the tree of knowledge. An atheist may say we evolved free will, along with other cognitive abilities that distinguish us from our animal cousins and ancestors. We could also say that no such thing exists, a view which seems increasingly fashionable. As one group of researchers notes, cognitive neuroscience and popular media have been putting forward the idea that free will is an illusion, raising the question of what would happen if people stopped believing in free will altogether. This isn't an ideal, theoretical, or academic question. Beliefs about free will seem to affect many societally relevant behaviors like cheating. They also lie at the foundation of our criminal justice system, helping to justify retributive forms of punishment. The idea that people deserve to be locked up, for example, for committing certain crimes, as opposed to rehabilitative ones, confining and reforming people until they can safely re-enter society. Some philosophers have argued that if we were to give up on free will, the consequences would be catastrophic. Scientists have tried to manipulate free will beliefs in a number of ways. One common method is eroding the plausibility of the concept by appealing to the mechanistic nature of reality. You tell people that all of the behavior is determined by the laws of nature, physical, biological, and physiological laws. How could it be otherwise? If you rewound the universe, you'd end up making all of the same choices you did the first time around. You might question the deterministic outlook by bringing up the role of chance. But on closer inspection, that too erodes free will's plausibility. Because how could we call a choice free if it arose out of randomness? But it turns out a persuasive anti-free will essay, the most effective method the studies found, doesn't change people's core beliefs about free will. It only puts them in a temporary, slight anti-free will mindset. Most people naturally believe in free will, so most of the studies try to reduce belief in it. There is no evidence that this change in free will beliefs has any effect on morality, such as antisocial behavior, cheating, conformity, or willingness to punish. There is also no definitive evidence against such effects. So for now, it appears that people's beliefs in free will don't really matter. That's quite a bold conclusion, given that the most popular position seems to be either free will exists and is central to ethics, or free will doesn't exist, and it's ethically important for everyone to recognize this fact. A good example of this first view comes in the book Just Deserts, Debating Free Will by philosophers Daniel Dennett and Greg Caruso. They argue about whether free will makes people deserving of punishment or praise for their actions, independently of the good that might result from punishing or praising them. To take an extreme example, suppose there were 10 people left on Earth and one killed the other 9. Assume there's no forward-looking reason to punish them. There are no more people they could possibly kill. No other people to learn by making an example of this person, and so on. Does this person still deserve to be punished for what they did? Free will, for Dennett, is the thing that would make the answer yes. The person deserves to be punished because of what they chose to do with their own free will. The problem with this, though, is that the existence of free will now depends on your theory of ethics. For example, I'm a utilitarian. I don't believe retribution is ever morally justified. So because of my ethical theory, I must not believe in free will. But shouldn't free will have to do with the nature of a person acting, their psychological properties, and their relationship to the laws of the universe, not whether or not utilitarianism is true? The neuroscientist Sam Harris said as much in one episode of his Making Sense podcast. Free will is an enduring problem for philosophy and science for one reason, he said. People think they experience it. They feel they have it. For Harris, those people are wrong. Not just about the existence of free will, but the character of their own experience. Harris, in that episode, says that if there's anything novel about his position on free will, it is the claim that the experience of having free will is a penetrable illusion. If you pay sufficient attention to your mind when making a decision, it's possible to see that you're not really deciding anything. Options of what you might do simply appear in consciousness, and the feeling of choosing an option is just another thought that appears in consciousness, completely out of your control. To demonstrate, he asked listeners to think of a film and carefully observe what happens in their mind's eye during the process. Various movies surface to mental awareness, but are these being chosen in any real sense? At this point, he asks listeners if they experience free will in this moment. If it's not here, it's not anywhere, he says. It is likely that every other choice you have made in your life has been more constrained than this one. What job to take, who to marry, whether to have kids, who to vote for. Most choices have more obviously constrained by other variables than this one. So if you're not free to simply pick a film right now, I don't know where you're going to find free will. You might argue, as Dennett has, that Harris is unnecessarily defining free will out of existence. There's a useful version of free will we can hold onto, involving our capacity for self-control. But this, as Harris has said, would just be changing the subject. People who believe in free will think it's deeper than self-control. It's about the feeling that you are, in some sense, the author of your thoughts and actions. The way these two thinkers have talked past each other reminds us that it's hard to change people's beliefs about free will. So, it can feel like a relief to realize that even when you can change people's beliefs, it seems to make no moral difference anyway. In his book, Why We Believe, Fuente writes, "The human capacity for belief, the specifics of belief, and our diverse belief systems structure and shape our daily lives, our societies, and the world around us. In the case of free will, this may be less true than we have been led to believe." Thank you everyone for listening. This has been fantastic. Nautilus is a great magazine and cultural hub of sorts, so thanks for checking it out. You can find me on Instagram at Ross J. Farrar. I'll be posting various arts that I'm involved with. That's poetry, photography, music, etc. You can also find my bands Cermony and Spice. And of course, the lovely people at Industry Standards who just released my solo record, my second solo record. And that is _Industry Standards _. Fantastic. Thank you very much. I love you all.